Hi, and welcome to the floor of my office. You guys have never been here before because it's not cute, but this felt like the kind of conversation I would have while sitting on the floor with friends. So we're gonna have this conversation while sitting on the floor with friends. My channel has grown a lot in the past 6 months. For me, I went from sub 1,000 subscribers to about 4,000 subscribers as I'm filming this. So I figured I'd introduce myself to 3,000 of you and tell you a little bit more about me because why not? So I put a call out on TikTok as well as a post on here for questions, whether it be finance, career, whatever it is. You guys ask some questions and I'm gonna answer them. That's how Q&As work. But if we are meeting relatively for the first time, my name's Sandra. I am an occupational therapist in Denver, Colorado. I'm sharing my financial journey, including paying off my 6-figure student loan debt as fast as possible. I share finances with my boyfriend, which allows me to make faster progress towards my goals. My channel is heavily focused on like goal-oriented money spending. I hope to teach and inspire some of you that have disposable income to tackle your goals. I definitely am not like pinching pennies by any mean. I have $2,000 a month to play with to tackle my goals, and that's a huge blessing, but I also know I'm not the only person in these shoes, which is why I make these videos to kind of share what you can do with your disposable income to set you up for success rather than just spend on crap you're not going to remember in 10 years. So that's kind of my goal with posting my videos, is not only share my aggressive debt payoff journey and kind of inspire other people to be prepared to take out debt and pay it off and what that can do for your freedom, but also inspire those of you that have money. Budgeting isn't just for people that need to make ends meet every month, and money is a tool to empower you to live a life you love. In my videos, I share a lot of finance stuff, a lot of personal updates, and just transparency. I think that's the most helpful thing, is to see how people spend their money. I've gone back to my roots a little bit and have been sharing some more vlogs just to share what my lifestyle looks like, both because I love to look back on my old vlogs and I was like, why did I stop doing these? Because I love looking back on them, and one day I'm gonna wish that I could look back on what I have now, and also to share lifestyle, right? If you guys can see my day-to-day, you can see what my financial journey buys me. So that is me. That is my platform on YouTube that I hope to grow over the next few years. Let's just get into some of the questions that you guys have asked about. Okay, so the first question is, have you shared your YouTube channel with friends or family? And the answer is kind of. I share it with people who ask. I definitely am not like quiet about side projects or a business that I'm growing, but if people are like, oh, what are you doing tonight? I'm usually like, oh, I'm working on my stuff, projects I'm working on. And if people ask further questions, I'm happy to tell them. And if they don't, I don't. I see a lot of people talk about like, oh, I'm gonna do X, Y, or Z, and I'm gonna do this, and this is how much money it's gonna make me, and yada, yada, yada. This is how many people I'm gonna reach. And then they never do anything about it. They just talk for years about it. And I'm not that person. I'm just quietly working towards my goals. I know that it takes years to build anything, and my goal with this channel is to like disseminate information at the end of the day. I definitely have friends who ask, and I have friends who don't ask, and I have friends who know about it and don't ask, and I have friends who don't know about it because they haven't asked. Yeah, I don't like post about it on my personal social medias or anything. I have grown this. Actually, I'm pretty proud of entirely growing it without like self-promoting to friends and family. But if you are a friend or family and you watch my videos, thank you so much for your support. It means a lot. I am so happy to have you here. So like, no, I don't like walk around talking about my YouTube channel to my family. It's also kind of a funny thing. I have no problem sharing my personal finances actually with like almost anyone, but I do have some family members that are not competitive, but like we don't have the same values in what we buy, and they're definitely more like materialistic and have this sense of like, oh, I'm making more money than you, so I'm doing better than you. And I almost have a little bit of insecurity about sharing my personal finances so transparently. Not because I care what the world thinks. I actually think that the transparency is really helpful for most of the world, but more just I'm like, oh shit, those people know exactly how much debt I'm in and how much I make every single month. And I hate that because I don't want to be perceived by them. My privacy for people that I know don't support me, and what I want from that privacy is way different than what I don't care what the world knows, People that actively try to bring me down and say mean things about me, yeah, I don't really want you knowing that I'm in 6 figures of debt. But if I have to out myself to family members that I don't actually, like, at the end of the day care about their opinion either, then great. A big one is, what is you and your boyfriend's combined monthly income? I just talked about how transparent I am with my finances. I don't feel comfortable being transparent with his finances because that's his personal privacy, and I have said that before. I'm not going to share what he makes, but I will happily share what I make, which is $36.80 an hour. But our combined monthly expenses are about $6,500, not including savings. How do you balance a large focus on financial success while also staying fulfilled and balanced in life? Honestly, I'm a huge fan of introspection. I spend a lot of time thinking. I really should get into journaling, but I feel a lot of pressure when I journal to like journal the right things, which is, I do need therapy. But this is where like my guilt-free spending comes from, is I want to not even have to think when I swipe a credit card on something that I just want to spend money on and have fun. Spending money isn't the only thing, and I have a ton of hobbies that aren't necessarily like expensive or money oriented. Personal finance is a really big interest of mine. I really like to feel empowered by my money, and I like knowing and learning like what money is and what it can do for you. Like, it's not just this chore to me, but like ultimately understanding my money is not something that makes me feel unbalanced. But I totally get where this question is coming from, of like not wanting to be obsessed with money. I think that's where like my interests are not materialistic. I'm really focused on what money can buy me in terms of what I value, which is time for the most part. It's time with loved ones, time with myself, time to do things that I want, like travel, explore, and experience new things, and like participate in my hobbies. So that's where my interest in personal finance comes from, is I see how personal finance can actually balance my life more, versus if I just go blindly through the world spending money because that's what other people would spend money on, then I would actually say I'd be less balanced if I didn't have that like self-reflection. But my guilt-free spending definitely is a part of this. And then I also just have hobbies that are not personal finance related necessarily. Everything costs money. We live in a society where everything costs money. And that's part of why I want to share more vlogs too, is just to show that my life is not all sitting in front of spreadsheets. It's actually a very small part of my day. But I love to camp and hike a ton, which is why we live in Colorado. This was a very conscious choice. It's a more expensive cost of living, but 20 minutes from beautiful camping and hiking and some world-class stuff. That's part of why we live in the mountains as well. I used to garden, but with the current construction that we're doing at our house, we're building a detached garage. My garden got ripped out. I'm hoping next year to start to garden again, which is a huge hobby of mine. I have this YouTube channel, which is a creative outlet. I also love to draw. I love to play video games. I love to play board games, and I love to shoot the shit around a fire. Like, I love spending time with friends and family and just hanging around. So I have a ton of hobbies that are not financial, and give me a break. I definitely am not thinking money, money, money all day long. I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses. I have what I value in life, and I won't spend money on it if I don't value it. So maybe that's how. What is your degree? I have a bachelor's of science in health and exercise science, and I have a doctorate in occupational therapy. What is your, including your boyfriend's, next financial goal after paying off your loans? We actually have a few financial goals that we are funding in line with paying off my loans. Our house is itty bitty and we want to make it ours. So a lot of like cosmetic renovations need to happen in here. It's from the 1960s. It has not been touched really since the 1960s, except for the previous owners that had it for like a year. Drywalled all the wood paneling, which phenomenal move on their part. I hate drywalling, so I'm glad they did that. On the inside stuff, I will bring you along and I will be like doing those jobs. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we'll both need new cars eventually. He just got a job where he's gonna have to commute, because for a little while there he's working from home, and there was a little bit of like, well, do we need 3 cars? If one of them just goes, can we be just a 1-car family? We have like a truck built out for camping that's just an adventure rig. It's not like a commuter car, but I've been driving it this week since I forgot to get an oil change. And okay guys, don't shame me. This is just a little side tangent. I thought that I was supposed to get an oil change every 5,000 miles. And last time I got an oil change, I looked at the sticker and it was like due in like 2,500 miles when I looked at the sticker, and I was like, oh, they forgot to update the sticker. I'm good till I hit the 5,000 mile mark. Turns out I'm supposed to get an oil change every 3,000 miles. So I called to schedule my oil change when I was getting close to 5,000 miles, and they were booked like 3 weeks out at that point, and I trust this auto mechanic with my life. I have been driving the truck because my car is 2,000 miles over its oil change recommendation, but they have it on a more frequent schedule just because it's a 15-year-old car. But I want that car to keep running, so I haven't been driving it, and I've been driving the truck, which is a nice thing about having like a third vehicle that does work. But that's just a funny little tidbit. So anyways, we're gonna need new cars that we want to pay cash for. It's still up in the air, but we're like saving for that slowly. Ultimately, I'd love to replace some of my income and have more flexibility with work. At what age do you ideally want to retire, and how much money will you need to have saved? I would love to retire ASAP. What I want is financial freedom. Like I just said, I want to be able to work just for my love of what I'm doing and not in exchange for money. The first goal is paying off my debt, mostly just because that buys us freedom. My minimum debt payment is not a small portion of my income. It's also an unnecessary debt that's at a relatively high interest. My student loans are between like 5 and 7%. So that's goal number 1. And then goal number 2 will be to nail down what we can actually realistically do with retirement. I know that 2.5 million is our financial freedom number. I don't think that when we have 2.5 million invested, either of us will stop working, we like to be contributing to society. And quite honestly, my like W-2 job really sets me up nicely to contribute to society, because that's all I'm doing is giving back to people in a way and helping other people, and I love it. So 2.5 million invested should give us around $10,000 per month. So we will aggressively work towards that goal, but I don't think that necessarily we're like, we want to retire at 45 and we'll do anything to get there. I'm definitely not going to live super frugally. Like, I'm going to spend money on travel and all the things on the path to retirement, because what's the point of saving up a bunch of money if you could die at 35? So I think there's a balance. I definitely don't think like, oh, the world's ending, so I'm not going to save for retirement at all. But I do think like, if it takes me 5 years longer to get to retirement because I had fun along the way, then that's the purpose of it all. And that's just because I know what I want for my life and I'm willing to spend money on those things. But I don't think when we hit 2.5 mil invested, I'll retire like that day. I think that'll just give me the freedom to do more of what I want and not have to make money to live, but like, or just make exactly enough money to live and not have to invest anymore and just let that money grow. But I think we have this mindset that like work is bad, and honestly I think a lot of that comes from people not being fulfilled by their jobs. But I feel super fulfilled by what I do every day, so I don't see myself necessarily leaving that. I do see myself not wanting to be like asking to take time off. That's my biggest, like, I think that's why I want to be PRN, is like, okay, if I have this trip planned, then I'm just not working. I don't have to ask you if I can go. Have you ever thought about getting a job elsewhere to make more money? I have absolutely thought of this. I've even talked about it in a couple of videos. I have friends making $20,000 more than me in a similar setting at a different hospital, but that hospital works them to the bone, and I have great work-life balance. And so I am not willing to leave, even for $20,000. You can't ruin my work-life balance for $20,000. So at the moment, I am not considering leaving my job. I also have only been in my job for a year, and I'm growing a crap ton in terms of my experience and everything, so I have no interest in leaving. Do you watch Caleb Hammer? I giggled at this one, which is why I added it. I love me a finance YouTuber, and I've watched like a few financial audit episodes, but quite honestly, I'm not like invested in the like drama or scare tactics of it all. I like consuming content that I can learn from. Like, I'm not really a reality TV kind of gal, and that's where I put like financial audit. It's got the drama, it's got the juice, it's got the, oh my gosh, the husband is spending how much money on OnlyFans when the wife is in debt. I don't get a lot of value out of it. I admire what he's done with his business, and I think it's great for people that are in those spending situations where they're outspending what they're making just on ridiculous crap. Yeah, I haven't really watched much more. Like, if I'm in the mood for something just lighthearted, but honestly it pisses me off. My whole take on the world is I don't understand people who don't take control of their lives, to not pick up Google and say, what is a credit card, and instead just swipe the credit card and get yourself into a crap ton of debt, or what is a payday loan? Like, why are these bad? Why am I being offered this loan? And I do attribute a lot of that to the fact that I've had like extensive education in research-based fields, and so I just like translate that education to my life and research everything, and I'm really fascinated by learning and research. Maybe it baffles me, people who do not take control and just assume everything's fine. Someone commented on one of my other videos and asked for some tips for budgeting for grad students who make less than me. My budgeting and how I budget started when I was in grad school, living off of $1,000 a month. That's what I brought in and that's what I spent every single month. So I use the same principles. I just tracked my spending. The money was just smaller. I don't think budgeting principles necessarily change no matter how much money you have. Track your income, track your expenses, know your goals, know your spending targets each month. Your spending targets are obviously just going to be smaller. Evidently, you're not going to have as much money left over to tackle goals, but it's still a good idea to have a sense of like what you want, and don't set unrealistic targets. My rent was $650. Like, we were out of balance, right? My rent was over 50% of my income each month, but I just had to make it work. Yeah, my rent was $650. I tried to spend like $125 a month on groceries, which meant I was eating a lot of toast. I was not buying more than I ate every single week. Ramen and mac and cheese, baby. Like, we were living off of about $30 a week for groceries. This was 2 years ago now. Groceries have gone up. Hopefully pay has gone up a little bit too. I know that's not the case. And at the end of the day, like, you don't have as much opportunity to say no. I was saying a lot of yes to babysitting, dog sitting. I was a busy gal making money. But yeah, just know that if you can keep what you borrow down and you can live off of your income and not loans while you're in school, future you is gonna thank you, even though you will be dirt poor right now. Hopefully this was helpful for some of you to get to know me. I had a blast. This was a blast for me to film. Thank you for joining me on the floor. in a few months, the next project will be redoing this office, so hopefully our floor chats can be a little more aesthetically pleasing. But for now, enjoy occupational therapy and engineering textbooks. I'll see you guys in the next video. I have a vlog coming on Wednesday and some more finance stuff on Saturday, so see you then.